Yeah, Monday. What's up, everybody? Monday morning. Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Market Commentary. I'm your host, Chuck Fulkerson. I hope everybody had a phenomenal weekend, was able to spend some time with some family, get out and enjoy a few things. So we're going to do what we do each and every day, identifying 10 to 12 futures markets from an educational perspective, looking for both breakout and reversal trades. We had our live trade room last night, so a couple of things to review on here, but frankly, not all that much has changed since last night. So I'm going to go fairly quickly this morning. Not a whole lot to talk about and review. So let's go ahead and get rolling. Let me switch over to my equities chart. All right, so starting with our S&P. Now, I will say we were last night when we were looking at the S&P, we were down a few points, but our bullishness was our overall sentiment, and that was my feeling was that would continue, and so that has. We have maintained our bullish sentiment, popped up above that 34.85. Now, the reason I had that 34.85 line marked was because it was this 4-hour resistance point back here. Now, this is a while back, but still at a decent enough level for me to pay attention to. So when I look at this 4-hour move, this is a pretty extended 4-hour move, and I would anticipate that we will get some sort of a pullback soon, but we're into an area where we would consider this clean air, right? And we spoke the other day about the fact that if we get to this clean air scenario, then we're going to have an opportunity for the markets to trade up to an all-time high, and that's really what I'm going to be looking for. Not today, obviously, but over the course of the next few days. And so how do I get involved with his market move if it's cruising up? Well, I'm going to wait for pullbacks to quality areas of demand or look for basing and take the breakout. There's a lot of people who got long down here on the basing and are still riding this thing and rode it for quite a while. You'd want to look for a retest to one of these levels. Now, on a 15-minute chart, we did get a decent little level there formed at about 8:15 last night. That's not a bad area. It's not an authentic level, bit of a retest of this area here to the left, but it isn't a terrible level at all. The other one would be just this area right in here if we get a small pullback to this 34.83. So a couple of levels on there to look for today. As far as 15-minute zones of opportunity. And let me okay, so 34.84 by 34.81. Next would be our NQ level, so that 11.854. We're looking for a potential move up above this region. If I go to the 4-hour chart, we can see once again that same level that we talked about in the 1-hour, in the 4-hour, the ES exists in the NQ. We are still continuing this view for a bullish maneuver. Did anybody get long, by the way? Those of you that are in the room today, anybody get long on our Friday breakout, which ran up over 100 points? Because that wound up being a really, really nice setup and a really good trade. Hopefully, you're able to take advantage of that. If you missed it, here's our best opportunity for the pullback on the hourly chart. I left this circle here because this is where our breakout trade was, and I wanted to see, we're up, almost 350 points. Nice, Nick. Love that. Love that, Mr. Twig. It's great. Could have an overnight little level right here that's worth paying attention to at 11,793 by 11,764. Taking a look at the Russell. The Russell on Friday, we had a potential for the breakout. And for those of you that were there last week on Friday, we had this little reversal point right here. Price came back into that reversal point, and now we're just kind of just jostling along. I added that 1646 because if I go back to the 4-hour, that takes me to this pivot high over here. And we are still kind of basing in front of that level. So that would be where our next breakout would be. I will say that over the last short amount of time, the last few days, literally the last few days, what we've seen is that the Russell was our leader, right? Over the last couple of days, we've really seen the NQ pick back up into that leading scenario. Now, the YM sitting right below a potential breakout point, right there at 28,580, 28,6, somewhere in that range. for price to continue to potentially move higher. On a bit of a pullback, you've got a little level here as an area of opportunity at 28 to 90. So those are our 4 equity markets. I mean, overall, here's what we got to continue. Here's what we got to consider. We should remain bullish until the market tells us not to be bullish, right? We should remain bullish until the market tells us not to be bullish. And at this point, that's what it's telling us. It's telling us to maintain a bit of a bullish sentiment overall, because we would believe that there is a better opportunity for price to continue to trade a bit higher based upon our 4-hour chart. Now, are we slightly overextended? Absolutely. If I throw up even an RSI, we're way overextended, up above that 74 region on that RSI on the 4-hour chart. If I throw on my Bollinger Bands, for those of you that trade with Bollingers, we are not above the 2 standard deviation amount, but we are definitely, riding high on that wave. A pullback to a reversion to the mean wouldn't be unexpected soon. And that mean, by the way, is obviously rising. So, looking at that 4-hour level, I wouldn't be surprised to see a pullback soon to come back down into this region here, and then for us to be able to go higher. So give me your, if all this makes sense, do me a favor. If you guys like these videos, throw a little like. It takes you half a second to push the little thumbs up button there in your window. And then also, if you guys are watching this on the recording, please leave comments down below, because the computer likes it when you leave comments. So yeah, Dennis, I do know that. That's definitely one of the things that he talks a lot about, is don't short when the RSI is up over 60. I'm saying the only way I'm going to short this market right now is if we have a setup for a short setup, because our big picture trend is going up. And even on a short setup, I don't have anything until way up here, which is around 35.50. There's no reason to get short anyway for quite a while, unless it would be a breakdown. The only way that we would even consider it is a breakdown. And right now, that's nowhere in play. All right. Thank you guys for those of you that just hit that little thumbs up button. Appreciate that. I saw the little spike went up here on my dashboard. All right, so let's go to, let me share this equities grid here right quick. Sorry, trying to run 3 things at once. Now, by the way, I had a call yesterday from somebody asking me, he's like, so what are we doing to prepare for the election? We're not doing anything. We're allowing the market to tell us where the best and most highly probable trades are going to be. That's ultimately what we're doing. We're letting the market tell us where the best and highest, most probable trades are going to be. And what I want to do is I want to avoid having my own opinion. I want the market to tell me where it thinks it's going to go, and that's it. Don't fight it. All right. All right. Next, let's go to commodities. Yeah, these stair steps move higher. They don't lend well for shorts at all, Dennis, not one bit. So let's go to crude oil. So crude oil last night, we were looking at a potential area. It definitely came down pretty hard starting on Friday, continued to come down. And we were looking last night at a 15-minute confirmation short. Now, the reason we took that we looked at the 15-minute confirmation short was simply because it was a pretty decent little picture and a decent opportunity. We didn't get a confirmation entry. It actually went through the distal line before giving you a chance to take the confirmation short. So there's really no entry on that position. And then this should be in purple. The better level is that wick over wick that we have up here. At 40.94 as that distal line. Bottom of that line's 40.88. Actually, it's probably for like 40.89. If I really want to draw it properly. There you go. Sometimes I do these a little bit quick. So that's really kind of our best 15-minute level. Now, I will say that we could be setting up for a potential on a breakdown below this 39.80 mark. If I go to the 4-hour chart, my 4-hour chart, it's still technically in an uptrend. I've not put in a lower swing low or a lower swing high. So I'm still technically in an uptrend. But I can take a breakdown in an uptrend provided that I get quality basing. And so if I get basing here on the 15-minute chart, then I'm going to be okay taking a breakdown off of this level. Now, my first target would probably be right here around 39.55. So you've got about 20 ticks of move there. GC hit a nice little supply overnight for about 3-to-1, 300 wide level plus stop. Yeah, and that sometimes happens, Dennis. That's definitely going to be one of those things that you got to have the willingness to take that kind of risk. And that's why I like levels that I can find a 15-minute breakout trade. Now, technically, once again, still against the big picture, but we're definitely seeing our 4-hour momentum is definitely waning. Gold. So this was that supply level you were talking about, probably in the overnight there. Dennis was off of this area. Now this area here, since we had a little drop base, very strong drop right in here, and then we've retested it and gotten a move away. We came back to it and got another move away. Now could become a breakout above here if we get basing in front of that level, and we would look for a reversal. We've got two areas below us. We've got this hourly level right here, which was the origin of our breakout from Friday. And we're looking for a breakout above, we would look for a reversal at this region. This was the origin of the breakout trade from Friday. I don't like this level, frankly, as much as I like the level down below, this 1915 by 1913. Okay, so I'm going to remove the hourly level. I looked at it last night and was okay with it, but the more I look at it, the more I like the 15-minute level a bit better, and I'm going to leave that 15-minute level in there. Adam says JE is going to be today's big runner. Institutional buying, insider buying, history of running 20 plus. Keep a watch, JE. It will be huge. I'll take a look at that. We can certainly look at that, Adam. JE. We'll take a look. See. All right. Nat Gas. So this was my NGX20. Now on this one, this was our gap and go potential scenario. Because we are in a 4-hour uptrend, right? But it's all wonky and wicked. We had talked about the potential for a gap and go if we get above this 2.955. So if we get above this 2.955, let's see this for a potential. And the only way that I would take that is if we get the quality basing in front of there, because it's a very wide area. The level's still not dead. When I use these gap and goes, sometimes this doesn't give us entry until Monday afternoon or even Tuesday, but still a valid area when it does get there. But this one's a pretty wide one, so take it with a proverbial grain of salt, if you will. The next level I would look at for demand if we do come down, obviously we've got a potential on the gap fill trade, but the better level I think even than the gap fill is this one down here. I think that's the better level, even more so than what the gap fill would be giving us today. That 2.673 by 2.65 would be our better level. All right. We looked at copper last night. Not a whole lot to add on copper. Nothing really to add in soy or in corn from our levels the last couple of days. So those are our commodities for today. Now, I know also, by the way, that on Friday we talked about that GC iron condor coming to an end, setting up for a breakout, and that actually wound up working out very well. That GC breakout, which closed us out of our iron condor. Okay. Let me go back to this here. CL, isn't there a demand zone at 39.57 by 39.28 on the 60 would limit roam on the breakdown? Yes. So at 39.57 by 39.28, you're talking this area right here, Andrew? That's not a great area of demand. I agree that is a demand level which could hamper our room to roam, but I can still get 4 hours. Let me go to the 60. Yes, I see it's there. You're talking this one right here. So I'm still okay with this, because remember, we were looking at the breakout on the 15-minute, Andrew. So on the 15-minute, that still gives me a 20-tick profit window, right? I've still got 20 ticks of profit, and I'm okay with a 20-tick profit window in crude oil so long as I'm not risking more than 10, right? I'm okay with a 20-tick profit window so long as I'm not risking more than 10, which is why I look for the breakout on the 15-minute. Because if my breakout's on the 15-minute, if my pivot is, say, right about here, right, then it's gonna then it'll be a good enough trade, because then I won't have as much risk on that position, because it would be on a 15-minute breakout. That's why I looked at that on the 15-minute for the breakouts, because I did see that. All right, bonds and currencies. So looking at our bonds and currency markets today, the 10-year note is a proverbial snooze fest. Nothing, and I mean nothing, happening on the 10-year note. So we're going to let that go. The Aussie, when I look at the Aussie, we've got a little bit of a pullback into what could be a long move up into this region. This hourly level is still pretty clean. When I move to the 4-hour chart on this one, we are in an upward trend. We had that little Batman cowl, gave us a little bit of a move down from here, but then price just continued to rally up. So a pullback into this region here would be a pretty good retracement of this most recent. I think that's probably about a... is that a 38.2 retracement of this distance here? It's not quite 50%. Boom, right that at the 38.2. So that would be a 38.2 retracement of the most recent move. And then I bet you that's a 50% retracement of this move. Yeah, so right about a 50% retracement of this move. So from a Fibonacci standpoint, there's a lot of confluence with that hourly level. There's also the fact that that's just a strong move away, formed at a good time of day. So that could be a good little area, a good little setup. Obviously, look for basing in front of the level. In the euro, so our euro level, we talked about this last night. If you were more aggressive and you wanted to take the gap and go on this one, you were trading counter trend, right? And so counter trend is always going to have a bit more risk to it. And this is, we showed it last night, talking about the fact that it's a counter trend setup. Gap and goes in a counter trend will sometimes do this. You get an entry right here, and then you get a stop out right here, right? I mean, it's just a quick entry and stop out on a very, very small level when a counter trend position. So the demand area that we're looking at is this one down in here, 15-minute level, as a retracement back to the speed candle, formed at a pretty good time of day. As far as what's happening on our 4-hour chart, our uptrend is still pretty consistent. You know, if you're a trend line drawer, you might go with a trend line that looks something like this, where you've got these two, these bottom wicks kind of touching. If you're a bit more aggressive, you might look at, if you don't mind cutting through candles, something like this. I don't really draw trend lines all that often, frankly, because they're too damn subjective. But there's definitely, you can see that the uptrend does exist. And so a pullback to here would still be a pretty safe bet for a long entry on this move. So now we're getting a bit of a reversal in front of that, so we may not make it all the way down to there, but we'll see what happens. What I don't want to do is take another short aside from the ones that are up here. Canadian dollar, very, very strong move. Yeah, he is definitely the trend line guy. It's never been my forte, if you will. I prefer to stick to vertical price or horizontal price levels. But what really matters is what works for you and your style and your system. That's what I knock nobody's style and nobody's system. Everything works for themselves. What's the correct woke phrase? You do you, you be you. Whatever it is. I'm not very good at that. I'm So let's see. This goes 76.24, breakout above there for a potential move. A little bit of sideways would be necessary. We've had a little poke above, but I think we could still run up above that region. I think the better play is still the pullback. It's not a super clean breakout, but it's okay. Great British Pound. So we looked at this level last night in the pound. Price came super duper close and didn't get the trigger. So now I'm actually going to remove this level, and I'm going to take this level. I'm going to move it down to here. Because I think that's probably a better representation of a demand area. I could theoretically switch this to a confirmation, but with the basing we're getting in front of it, it takes away the potential for a confirmation entry, so I'd look a bit lower for a potential reversal. And then Japanese yen, as I look at the Japanese yen, we had, this move up that's happened here recently. Supply level that we would look at isn't until way up here. We do have a gap fill area, but notice we came close to that gap fill area and missed it, and we're coming close to it again. I'm going to leave that gap fill area alone. On a pullback, you could have an entry on the 15-minute chart at this level right here. It's not an authentic level, meaning it's not its own authentic accumulation of orders, but it is a very, very clean pivot. Yes, Kevin Green says, if you aren't making money, you aren't making money, which... thank you, Captain Obvious. No, I love Kevin. All right, and then the New Zealand dollar. I do genuinely. I missed that. I gotta go visit him. I haven't seen ever since COVID. I haven't been to visit them at their campus. I got to go over and say hello. So New Zealand dollar, we look at. We've been looking at a little bit more frequently. We had a supply zone in here on Friday that just completely got gutted. Just blew right through that Friday supply zone. And didn't give us any basing for the breakout trade. And now we could get a little pullback. So I'm wondering if we're going to see a reversal somewhere in this region here, where our old demand, where our old supply was. But in the meantime, I'm going to look for this area down here for a potential on that reversal. Okay, let me share this one so that it's in there. All right, now I've got a couple of minutes left because I went a little bit faster today. Do you guys have any particular stocks that you want me to take a look at? Any things that you might want me to look at? Adam said JE. So I know nothing about this JE, but the first thing that I immediately look at is that they had a 1-for-33 split. Anytime you see a 1-for-33 split, that's not a good thing. That's a and so from a fundamental standpoint, it's definitely on the hurt locker, if you will. 1-for-33 split is definitely something that I want to stay away from. And then when I look at the volume on here, not sure what the volume is. Let me see if is it even optionable. Let's see. Oh, there are some options, and a little bit of open interest in here. So, Adam, I know you say that could be today's big runner, institutional buyer, inside buying, and I think it, could it get up to this 20 plus? Yeah, maybe. And that would be kind of a running position. I don't typically deal with too much with these on these lower positions, but if you wanted to throw a couple $100 at it as a speculative play, it may be worth doing. So absolutely. All right. Yeah, we can take a look at wheat and bean oil. So looking at soy. So we had looked at this breakout trade last week. I think it was last week. We looked at this for a breakout. Price did give us a pretty good breakout and a nice little run from that area. On a pullback, though, this wick over wick sets up pretty nicely right here. 33.60, 33.50 on a pullback. Very clean setup. Rally base rally above a pivot low. Your stop at the tightest on here, the absolute tightest your stop would be right there at 33.38. Four-hour on this. You've got your supply up above, but we're still room to run to get to that level. And then wheat. So looking at wheat, big sell-off last week, which I haven't looked at this in a while. Remove this. All right. So technically here I have a lower swing low and a lower swing high. So I shouldn't really look to be a buyer. I should look to be a seller in wheat based upon my big picture trend. And so you could use this area here as a potential breakdown. Yes, I recognize that we've got a couple of pokes below that level, which might, act as a little bit of a stall, but it does give you a decent place to measure an entry. You could also look to this area right here, 15-minute wick over wick for a potential reversal coming back down for a shorter term trade. If you take this, remember your stop at the tightest can be above the leg in on that inside candlestick. All right. What else? Anything else you guys want to look at this morning before we log out? Remember, if you haven't already done so, do me a favor, throw that thumbs up button in there. Those are always helpful. Leave some comments down below. Really means a lot to us. Remember, Thursday, coming up this week on Thursday, is going to be the Traders Summit. So if you've not yet registered, please make sure that you do. Going to be a pretty cool day. With our Trader Summit coming out on Thursday. Learn more, register right there if you want to. Just go to the website and you can get there as well. Yeah, and very good, Dennis. Appreciate that. Share it on social media. And also, I know a lot of you guys are part of, I don't know, I'll call them Discord groups or Facebook groups or WhatsApp groups. So if you're part of those trading communities, shoot it out there too. It might spread the word, let other people kind of know what it is that we do. And it's going to, like I said, not a sales pitch day. A lot of people, you come to these dang money shows or whatever they are, and I'm not throwing them under the bus. Just their business. It's just their business style. This is not a sales pitch. This is really just education the whole day. That's what I'm really proud of these events. I think we've done a pretty good job of that this whole year of putting these things together and making them really just good, fun days. So, all right, everybody. Well, that's all I've got for you today. I appreciate you spending the time with us. If you have any questions, as always, give me a holler. Talk to you soon. See ya. Well, that's perfect time.